performance wasn't what was expected, but they didn't motivate you during the month. So you only find out how you did at the end. And with our system, you could see on a big board, on shared reports, on daily emails that can be sent out, and on mobile devices to know where you are and where you're going at any particular time. Because our systems not only include your goals, your CSI, and all those other aspects, but it also includes your trends.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It's Jason Harris here, and thank you for joining me on another episode of The Drive. Today, I have a very special guest with me. I have Mr. Todd Katcher with Digital Dealership Systems. Todd, what's up, man? How you doing, dude?
Good to see you. It's been a long time. I think we run into each other for about 15 minutes every year or so, and
that is about it.
And then talk in between, and then enjoy each other's company virtually.
Well, I'm glad we had a chance to actually get in a bus, drive up and down the Las Vegas Strip, and just talk about everything we want to talk about when it comes to digital displays and what you guys have been working on. You know, I got a funny story. I got to let everybody know out there how actually me and Todd met. It's pretty funny because I actually had an agency, Digital Dealership Solutions.
Yes.
And our name was so close to each other that when you Googled it, we'd get calls for his support and he'd get calls for our support. Yeah. And one day we're just like, what do you do? And we just called each other and we're just like, what's up? So, but here we're talking about digital dealership systems. Been a big fan for a while, and I'm super excited. But let's kind of kick it off with kind of that origin story.
Sure.
Right? Because I don't think anybody just kind of wakes up someday and goes, hey, I'm going to build a cool product for the automotive industry. Because
let alone a niche like digital signs, which is not like a big niche. And I had no experience in automotive. In fact, I rarely even walked into a car dealership once in my life. I think my dad helped me purchase a car prior to that through him. So I really never actually walked into a dealership and went through that whole buying process. So even as a consumer, I was unaware. So as a vendor, I didn't even know the word vendor at that time. So my experience in the automotive world and my experience after today was after 12 plus years of literally learning, walking through dealerships. I've been inside of over 500 dealerships across the country. And during that time, I ask a ton of questions, just my nature in life in general, asking a lot of questions and really understanding why you do what you do, which when it comes to the car industry, a lot of people don't know why they do what they do. You know,
and there's still some people out there figuring that one out. They know what they do. They know what they do, but the why, yes, 100%.
I mean, a lot of them have vendors that they don't use. A lot of them have programs they don't use. If a lot of dealerships say if the manufacturer doesn't require it, I'm not going to sign up for it. You know, so when it comes to our product, we're all about customizing the customer experience. So dealers spend a lot of money driving traffic to the store, and they all say a different marketing message. You know, and I could give examples of that, but at this part of our conversation, it's really about creating something that reiterates that buying message and supports their staff.
Well, it's consistency.
Yeah,
it's consistency.
Exactly.
Right? And you know, and I felt bad for the dealers because they got an uphill challenge for this, right? Because you know they have messaging coming from their manufacturers, then they got messaging possibly coming from their group, then they got messaging coming from just their individual location, and that's just
the regional.
It's tough. It's tough. Sorry, go ahead.
It is. No. So I actually had a small digital sign network in Nashville. Again, going back 2007, 2008, and we had 100 screens in bars and restaurants throughout Nashville, and one of our advertisers was a car dealership.
Okay.
And that car dealership said, why don't you create something for this inside our dealership to talk about the dealership to people that are already in the dealership? And I said, well, what would that look like?
Well, and what a huge opportunity, right? Because, you know, the manufacturers are very, very strict as far as like, look, they have guidelines and it makes sense, right? Like if I walk into a Nissan dealership, you know, I want it to look like a Nissan dealership. And there's a lot of, but that leaves very, very limited space and opportunity for the dealership to craft their own message, you know, when the manufacturer enforces so much. But so go ahead. Okay. So dealership reaches out to you. They want to create their own kind of branding and look.
Yeah. And so, and that has kind of created what we have today, whereas anytime we've developed a new product, because I had no product industry or no industry knowledge, I went ahead and asked them, what do you want? So when a dealership says, I want to put service status like an airport in my service drive, I say, what do you want? And then we do it. And today we have more integrations than any of the other digital sign companies in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then a dealer says, well, I want to digitize my sales leaderboard. And I say, well, what would that look like? You know? So it's like there are a lot of the vendors in the market have come from that experience of being a dealer, having family in the dealership, and they come in the door and they already have a knowledge of the industry. They have contacts in the industry, and they have an idea of product to serve those people. I had nothing.
Well, but I think that's a fresh look.
It
I
is.
mean, coming as an outsider, but also coming out from an outsider from other verticals that really get the idea of bringing the marketing messaging into a space.
Right.
Especially like bars and clubs and restaurants and stuff like that. I mean, it's so important for them to do that. You bring that fresh look coming into the dealership. So tell me about this first dealership. Like what was kind of their goals and objectives?
So it's actually the same goals and objectives as today's dealers.
Okay.
Where, they're trying to create their own branding message inside their store. Mm-hmm. So dealerships spend tons of money driving traffic to the store, and then they spend zero inside the store. Most dealers spend more money on their coffee machines than they do on actual marketing to their current customers. They'll take a salesperson and put them in the service lane or the service lounge and have them try to confront customers, and it doesn't work really well, and the customers don't like that experience, but then they won't spend $99 on a product like ours. So what happens is they have low CSI, and the biggest complaints of customers is brand transparency or price transparency, and is my car ready yet?
Yes.
Well, for $299 a month, they could solve that with our systems because it's integrated with the DMS.
Well, and it just creates
the
such an
service
amazing
menus.
experience. I mean, I know I'm getting ahead of ourselves because we're going to talk about it, but it's just like, I mean, that's the type of experience that I want. It's that full transparency. I can see up there what their pricing structure is and what, but also I can see in, where my vehicle is and when it's going to be completed and when it's being worked on. I mean, it's just look, here's the thing I find with the experience is it's never one big thing that makes the experience.
You're right.
It's always a little thing.
And it builds up.
And it just builds up, and Las Vegas is like so perfect with this, right? Because the entire city like just understands this model.
Yes.
I mean, we just picked you up from one of the newest hotels on the Strip.
Yes.
And how's that experience been? Just the little things that they've brought to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I love Vegas because those details, they realize that the details matter.
Yes.
So, and the other thing they do really well is they want you to stay on their property. So they keep a lot of digital signs inside their property to market their products, their restaurants, their nightclubs, their events, their loyalty programs to stay on there. So imagine you're MGM and you own half the Strip. Let's say like you own 8 casinos on the Strip. They do co-market between them. So if you're a Nissan dealership, or let's say you're a dealership brand in a particular area, you don't own every dealership in that particular area or that region, but you own 10 out of the 30 or out of the 40. Well, why not cross-sell between them? Because you have a captive market. So if you're like, as a corporate entity, Nissan, they want people to start with Nissan and then grow up through Nissan, then go through Infiniti.
Sure.
Right? And so if you have a Nissan and Infiniti, which most Nissan dealers are also Infiniti dealers, then you want to go ahead and market the Infiniti as an opportunity to stay within the brand, because there are other Infiniti dealerships in your region that are not owned by you.
Sure. And even on the flip side, though, like if I'm a group, let's say I am the Infiniti dealer, right? And that Infiniti owner also wants a truck in their driveway.
Sure.
Right? Like if they don't know that I own the other 7 locations in the area and that I can get them that new Denali. Right. They're just going to, if they don't know, they don't know.
If they have that experience, it's so we say the signs are about education. They're also about the experience. And then with our dashboard products, it's about motivating the staff too. So we've actually over the last year separated our offering into digital signs and dashboards. So when we're talking today about digital signs, those are going to be things that are customer facing. So think about video walls, customer lounge TV, service drive, dare to compare boards, service status boards, sales appointment boards, things of that nature that face the customer to help them through that experience.
Yeah.
And then we have the dashboard program that is going to be like a replacement for the dry erase board for sales, for service, or for the BDC. And so when we talk about our products, we've separated that out a little bit to show the different products that are available and dealerships that are interested in marketing differently within their stores, whether that's to the customers or to the staff, we have those solutions for them.
Okay, so let's dive a little bit more into some of those solutions because I want to make sure we kind of map out the individual ones. So like what's the core? Like what's the go-to? What's the one that's everyone's like, okay, that's the one I absolutely have to have?
So we have three main products that are the most popular products. Our commercial-free customer lounge TV with our service status built into it. We're the only
commercial-free. I just want to make sure we really highlighted that. Well, no, Todd, I know it sounds funny, but man, I mean, I'm still blown away, dude. I'm still blown away. I'll go into a dealership to get my vehicle service, and sure as shit, there is a commercial running for a competing dealership right down the street because they have the local news on or something like that.
Yeah, not even any type of TV these days. The two most advertised industries on TV are going to be car dealerships and the pharmaceutical companies. Yeah. So if you take that out of it, then you really don't have, you have like advertising for their own programming.
Yeah.
And so for our services, we really have a lock in that area for commercial-free, family-friendly, pre-screened content. So we kind of have taken what other people would expect and elevated that.
Sure.
And we want to deliver on that. So there's a couple of things on that product specifically that we do. So commercial-free. So we provide all the content. So family-friendly. So we watch every single clip before it goes on the screen.
That's a commitment.
We're the only ones that do that. All the other digital sign providers have offered that solution.
And you almost have to these days. I mean, sometimes the stuff that's pops up in a random sitcom, and I got my kids sitting there, just like, geez.
There's sitcoms, there's game shows.
Yeah.
And we also, when we say family friendly, it also refers to politics free.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So let's say you're doing.
Thank you.
So let's say that you're watching a clip of Jimmy Fallon, and at the end of the clip, he makes some sort of, let's just say, political joke. We don't even put that in there. We also have a policy, as people are sensitive to different things across the country, that if one person complains about one piece of content, we remove that from everybody's screen.
There you go.
So, and there are plenty of examples of that where we approved it internally because we're trying to be diverse. But in certain parts of the country, diversity is not as acceptable as other parts of the country.
Well, and the fact that you're able to kind of keep control. And again, guys, I know this sounds like it's a tiny thing, but it affects the overall experience so much. 100%. I remember this becoming such a big deal. In fact, I think me and you actually had a conversation about this during COVID. All right. And it blew my mind how many times I'd walk into a dealership and sure enough, CNN or whatever was on the TV, and it was doom, gloom, the world is ending, and oh, by the way, you have an $800 brake job that needs to be done. You're like, why even bother? If you watch the TV, the world is ending.
Tomorrow, right? Like, or the politics of the 2018, 2020, 100%. Those types of things. And we're coming up on it now, where you either the ticker across the bottom of a news feed. So if you're watching CNN or Fox or whatever, there are some dealerships that I talk to that have a Fox room and a CNN room. They split,
because it's that
because they have that diverse of customers, and then instead of spending $99 a month on a program like ours, they want to go ahead and have that. So we have family-friendly pre-screened content mixed with your manufacturer and dealer content. Yes. So we're going to automatically add all your manufacturer content, which I just found out that two of our competitors in the market space for this product don't actually add the manufacturer content. So they're putting this commercial-free content on there that you have to add yourself. From their catalog and update it yourself. Then you have to go ahead and add the manufacturer content. So we do all that automatically.
Well, and I've always felt yours was more of a premium solution. I do have to admit, it looks premium.
I appreciate that.
It does. I mean, I have to. That looks like something the manufacturer actually would put together if they realized that they had to spend more time focusing on the experience. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, and then we could also add, along with that, dealers have provided us with vendor information, such as other vendors that have videos for services they sell, whether that's a tire company or whether that's a promotion they're running, or a lot of dealers are making their own videos today inside the store, talking to their customers directly. So we're affording them an opportunity to speak directly to their customer in their lounge. Hi, I'm Bob. I'm the general sales manager here at Bob Chevy. I just wanted to welcome you to the store today. Thank you for coming in. We could go ahead and give you free service today if you jump into a new vehicle. Why don't you take a test drive while you wait? You could speak directly to the customer in the lounge area with your messaging, as opposed to putting your staff in that awkward position of having to confront somebody and have that conversation with them to try to get them to get a test drive or to get a trade evaluation or something like that.
Well, it's the senses, right? I mean, when I'm sitting there and let's say the average waiter's over an hour, right? So I'm sitting there consuming what the entire environment around me is for over an hour. I mean, we're here in Vegas, and I was just reading an article about some of the scents, like smells, that actually get pumped into the air. And I'm like, that's how far they're taking it, and yet we're still struggling just to flip off CNN and put on something we actually control.
I think dealers are hesitant just because for change in general. It's never the dollars. So no matter what's there. When they have regular TV, customers complain. When they have commercial free TV, customers complain. And so what happens is that they decide to go with the least complaints around. So our content changes every 10 minutes. So they're very small segments, which means it's going to appeal to a wider range of people.
It's going to keep me entertained. It's going to keep
educated.
And I'm not going to be sleepy. Right. I'm not going to be zoning out.
Right. And it's positive, family-friendly content. Plus, you could have all the manufacturer content and all the dealership content. So it gives them another marketing or advertising medium.
Yes.
And then as we make our way to places like the Drive, 100% of your service customers come through the Drive.
Yeah.
And
if they have to, they physically
have to. And if you're not marketing to them, it's a lost opportunity. So telling them their service status, welcoming them with their name, telling them the pricing with multiple menus, telling them about your trade-in programs, all that type of stuff. These are lost opportunities in dealerships for a minimal amount of money, where the average dealership is going to spend $50,000 to $100,000. That's a big range, but to come into to get people into the store, and they're hesitant to spend $500 to $1,000 a month once they're in the store. Well, doesn't really make sense.
And honestly, Todd, I mean, there's really no excuse anymore, too. I mean, I remember, I've been in the industry long enough. I remember what the original cost of a 50-inch panel was, and it was like, what you want? What for? How much? And so just to get into it. The cost is so minimal.
Exactly.
It's just a commitment to it. So so we got the TV. We have the service. Now, what's that product?
Service and lounge. Yeah, so in the service Drive, we have service status integrated with your DMS and the menus, and then we have Dare to Compare. We have welcome boards and things of that nature. It's really depending on the dealership. And one of the great things about our product is that we charge per media player. So we have some dealerships that have 50 TVs, and they only pay a subscription fee on the 7 media players that run those 50 TVs.
No, I'd appreciate that.
So cost-wise, when you're looking at a system like ours, we have one store in New Jersey that has 15 screens, a screen between every advisor. Big store, do 5,000 ROs a month, and they go ahead and have they only pay a subscription for 2 media players on 15 screens. So cost is not an issue. It's the fear of change. It's the fear of transparency of pricing. Some dealers fear that.
Or even just knowing. I got to admit, how many dealers out there know that they can just actually do this too, right? I mean, I got to admit,
that's part of our marketing, right?
Exactly. Well, I have to admit, it sounds like a lot. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh my gosh, I got to put all these screens up. I got to figure out some way of connecting these screens. I got to figure out how to get content.
Well, we do offer installation services as well. So for those dealers that are doing, we did an install at a store, that 50 screen one. We did that install. It was a 1-week install. I mean, it was like we sent our team out there. We have a team that travels around the country.
So I just hit the easy button.
And they just, I
like that.
So dealers, you could go to a local Costco or Sam's Club or Best Buy or whatever. I'm not sponsored. And go buy a TV. And you're responsible for that TV, and you do the installation, and that's one way of doing it. For dealers that are more sophisticated, we provide a full system where we go through and say where's the best place to put the TV, what TVs to put where, and what content
so
to
you
put
kind
where.
of come in and do an audit and kind of understand like kind of like a customer flow of just kind of like where they're coming in from the service, drive through, and then kind of how they enter in the space. Oh, that's cool. I dig that.
And then we put in commercial grade screens with a commercial grade warranty, because if you take that screen from a Costco or a Sam's Club and put it in your business, it doesn't have a warranty on it anymore. So ours are going to have the warranty from the manufacturer, and then for 2 or 3 years we do video walls, we do complete turnkey installation, so they don't have to worry about it.
That's cool.
If they're doing a new build, then we'll work with their contractor so we don't have to add more people to the mix. We're doing one now in New York, Rivera Toyota. They've contracted us, and we worked with their team for about 6 months now, and we're installing next month. So it's an opportunity for us and for the dealer to not have to worry about that part of the program.
Well, and I think it's cool that you guys offer that kind of that consultative nature, because there's many other verticals that spend a lot of time designing out that flow. Right. I mean, look, there's a reason why the gallon of milk is at the back of the grocery store and not at the front of the grocery store. Talk about a vertical that really understands, customer flow, to maximize
stores, like 7-Elevens and stuff like that. The Slurpees are in the back,
right?
Right.
And we spend millions and millions of dollars building these Taj Mahals,
right?
And then we're like, okay, are we really optimizing that Taj Mahal?
Yeah, we just talked to a dealer last week. They put in a brand new store, they had $20 million, ground up.
Yeah.
24 months, and they put in 25 TVs, and they don't have content. They don't have a plan.
Oh, no. They got the TVs though.
They have the TVs though.
Screens are there.
But when I asked them about their plan, they didn't have one. And when I asked them about the connections, none of them were connected together.
Okay.
So there's still some work that needs to be done, because you don't want to walk in, like when you walk into an electronics store, they often have the same content on every TV, because your brain freaks out if every TV has something different on it.
For sure.
It works in a sports bar where there's alcohol involved, so your brain slows down. But in a car dealership, you don't want your car dealership to be a sports bar. Contrary to popular belief, in the auto industry, if you walk into most car dealerships that have screens in their showroom, it's on various channels of ESPN.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that.
And that's where the manufacturer requirements that you were talking about make sense, because they're like, we're trying to sell cars here. So they had to mandate stuff like that, because otherwise dealerships just do whatever they want, and that doesn't help sell cars.
Yes.
But for those dealerships that have the option to put up their own systems, at the end of the day, you're there to sell cars and service. Someone's walking into your business. It's not their house. They don't mandate what's on your TV. It's your business, not theirs. Business. You're there. They're trying to make as much money as you can from each customer walking through that door. That's your goal.
Well, and that should be your goal, and that I think is actually kind of a perfect segue kind of into that third solution that you guys have. I love the fact that you guys there's no one pony here, right? Like you guys are extending the experience, for the dealership. You're creating a level of transparency with your service solution, and then you have a really cool sales solution that I got to be honest with you. If I was back in the dealership, I want my command center. So let's talk what's the product called, and let's kind of go down that.
Yeah. So under the umbrella of dashboards.
Yes.
And we've spent a large part of our growth and our investment into this product, and created a beautiful suite of services that appeal to every dealer. So we have 3 components currently under there, and we'll add more over time, and then each one gets more and more detailed. But we have our sales leaderboard, our fixed ops leaderboard, and our BDC performance reports. And basically what we learned is that a lot of dealers have been using handwritten dry erase boards throughout. I know I did. throughout the dealership. Yep. Sales, service was notorious for looking at how the month was after the fact.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So they never looked on a daily basis, and they rarely shared that information with the staff. Well, so the staff in service
were never really designed for it either. Right. I gotta be honest with you. Like if I pull up my scheduler on it ain't pretty. It's like it's not a lot there. Anyways, go ahead.
And so with our system, we're motivating people with data that's updated as often as every 15 minutes. So in service, especially fixed ops, meaning service advisors and techs, their money is really related to their performance.
Of course.
And their attitude, because they're dealing with the public, really impacts their bottom line. And many of them have used our systems to create new KPIs to pay their staff. So dollar per RO, their CSI, all that stuff is listed on their gross, their hours, their efficiency. All that stuff is listed and updated every 15 minutes on our board.
Which talk about creating that. Now we've talked a little bit about creating a customer experience. Now we're kind of talking about creating that staff experience, right? Yeah. Being able to see kind of where I'm at that given moment, but then also look. We're in a competitive business, you know. No one just walks in one day, decide to be a service advisor or a salesperson, not have a competitive bone in them. We need it, right?
Well, the other thing to consider is that on the service side, remember that they always look at the numbers after the fact. So they get their paycheck and they're like, why is my paycheck not what I expected? Well, because your performance wasn't what was expected, but they didn't motivate you during the month. So you only find out how you did at the end. And with our system, you could see on a big board, on shared reports, on daily emails that can be sent out, and on mobile devices to know where you are and where you're going at any particular time. Because our systems not only include your goals, your CSI, and all those other aspects, but it also includes your trends. So based on your performance. Now on service is very different from sales. So you're on sales, if you do, let's say you do 150, 200 cars a month, right? So how many people do you see for that based on your closing ratios, whatever those numbers are? Service is seeing 10 times as many people.
Well, yeah, so it's much harder. It's much harder to track. Like, I was trying to think, like, volume. I was a service advisor, and I actually had to kind of pull my own report on a daily basis and just kind of keep my own kind of Excel sheet to make sure that I was actually hitting, my financial goals and objectives. There was one. It wasn't like just one clean. It's not like on the sales side to the point where you're like, I can go to my CRM. I can pull up my sales report for the month and literally see what the gross is I've got for that month.
Yeah. And so the difference is like you said, the amount of information, plus their attitude can change throughout the day to impact where they rank on the board in one day. Remember that they're like, let's say you have that store that I mentioned before, 5,000 ROs. 15 advisors. So the numbers work out, let's say 400, I don't know, whatever the numbers are, 400 ROs per advisor, whatever that number is. And they touch that many customers. Salespeople would love to touch that many customers in a month. They're not. So the amount of impact they have and their attitude has on their bottom line and the money they put in their pocket is a direct correlation. On the sales side, sales are used to tracking. It's notorious for that. So what we want to do is provide them not just a single board, but multiple reports that tell them the story of the dealership, not just how many units you sold. So where do you rank on gross? Where do you rank on different KPIs that the dealership sets? Where do you rank on front end, back end? Like all these different types of things depending on your store and what's tagged on you as a member.
It's breaking the goals down on a daily bite-size element. Right? Yeah. I think too often, and I've been in this. In fact, I've probably done it myself. I've gone into a sales manager meeting and I'm like, okay, here's our monthly goal.
Yeah.
All right, we got to hit this number, and this number. But it's a big, hairy, monthly nut that's got to be done, right? But you can break that down, on what I need to achieve on a daily basis, and you have that report right in front of you. Like that changes the mindset.
Well, our system's kind of interesting the way that we did goals. So when you put goals in the system, the dealership actually manually puts in the goals because we don't have access, 100%. Right? And every salesperson has their own account within our system, so they could see where they are and they could access it on mobile to see where they're ranking and where they're trending. But the store goal is based on the total of all the employees.
There you go.
So what happens is that, you have a store goal, and then you ask the manager, how are you going to get there? And where you say, well, Bobby's going to do 10 and Susie's going to do 20. And
so you can break it out to each individual.
Yeah. So now it forces the managers in the store to be more specific, like not just what your goal is. It's great to throw out a number, but how are you going to actually get there and who's going to do those numbers? And 100%. Then you see percent to goal. We have a report that shows percent to goal, so you see where you are. It shows your trend on a bunch of reports on what your sales trend is. And we do the same thing for revenue, for front end and back end. You could put your goals in there. So now, how are you going to get there?
If you don't know, you don't know. See, that's the kicker,
right? Tracking, right?
But it's also just being visually in front of you, right? Like having, in my sales manager's office, this big screen, and I'm looking at the screen because there's one right above us over here, but just being able to see this screen and just at that moment, I'm not having to log into something. I'm not having to go click 4 or 5 clicks deep into it, run a report that then gets pulled into an ugly PDF or probably an Excel sheet.
And you share it by hand.
And it's I shared it it's right there in real time. And I can make those changes. I'm not waiting till that 15-day day mark or that 20-day mark to go, all right, guys, well, we know we're not hitting this. We got to make that adjustment.
I've learned because when we came out with this product, again, I knew nothing. So the most impactful report that we have is actually the pending deals report. Because they could see how long that the deal has been pending for, and they could see if there's if it's being attended to. They could go up to them and say, "Hey, Jeff, this deal's been pending. Is there anything I could do to help you close this deal?" Or I don't know about this one because I was out yesterday or the day before. What's happening with this pending deal? How can I help you close it? So it becomes more of a management tool, but it's visual as well. And don't forget, with our systems, there's a desktop component that allows the dealers to, with a one click, to go ahead and see how their store's performing month over month, last year, this month, 90-day trends. All that stuff is available just with a single click. So your example of like, they have this information in the CRM. They have it in the DMS, but when they print it, it's done. And they have to look at their computer versus looking at a big screen or looking at their phone to find the key reports. We're not trying to replace them. We kind of fall in the way of like a manual report. Then you have like the top line is like these extremely expensive programs that are like $2,500 to $3,500 per rooftop. Extremely detailed reporting, but again, those are owners.
Insight.
Those are for the owners, 100%. And those are for the management, and those are for the people that pay the bills. But then to make good decisions about what to invest in the future,
to make positive daily impacts,
right? And then ours is to motivate the staff, from the general manager to the service managers to the actual advisors and the people talking to the customers. And we recently this year extended with our BDC performance reports, and we're integrated with the CRM to update that information, because a lot of dealers, there's a lot of information in the CRM, and they're all doing it. Every dealer is doing something. If they're putting it on a board, they're manually getting it to a board. And you're talking like when I saw a dealership group that we're working with, I mean, we have one of our reports is an effort report. The amount of outbound calls, outbound tasks, outbound, inbound, outbound, the activities. And we break that down percentages, and we do a lot of extrapolation of data with that. But the idea is that we're showing that data in such a way that if they're going to do that manually, it's a job in itself.
Sounds like you're moneyballing it.
We are. We're giving them the tools.
That's right. See, if you give them the tools, you give them the data, right? But then that data is only as good as what they do with it. You know. But hey, I know we're getting towards kind of the tail end of our time today, and this has been a lot of fun. You know, it's one of my favorite topics.
I appreciate that. The in-store experience.
But what I think is so cool is that you guys just didn't go build a dashboard or build a piece of technology. You really kind of identified the people and the processes they have to execute on a regular basis, and then you work back towards.
Yeah, we work
backwards towards the technology. You didn't just come out with a dashboard that goes, "Hey, here's a bunch of numbers you should be using and looking at to like run your business." It's like, no, let me understand the people, let me understand that process, and then let me kind of build out that technology.
Yeah, that goes back to the beginning of that dealer coming to me and saying, why don't you create something like that for us? And my response was, what would that look like? And when we're creating the dashboard program, it's kind of the same thing, where dealerships have actually sent us their reports and we digitize them. And we made it because their reports are the same reports that almost every other dealership was using that we were talking to. They're manually entering a lot of data or creating internal scripts to do that on their own. That wasn't scalable.
No, not at all.
So we created a product in the dashboard. We have a team of developers that's dedicated to that, and we're excited about the future of that product.
Well, like I said, you're not just a display company. There's this consultative element to it that comes to it that, you know, as being an ex-dealer principal, I just appreciate so much, you know, because, you know, you're not just coming out and like, I mean, I can't tell you like how many vendors would come to me and say, hey, look, I know how to run your business better. Let me show you how. You know, you're not doing that, right? You're like, let me understand your business and how you operate your business and what are those KPIs, and then let me kind of create that solution for you. I think it's absolutely amazing. So, but hey, Todd, before I let you go, though, for everybody out there watching and listening right now, this has been a lot of fun, and we've covered a lot of content.
Indeed.
And I still don't think enough that really kind of, you know, encapsulates the entire podcast. You know, so I encourage you guys to go online and check out Digital Dealership Systems. But what is the best way for people to connect with you and to connect with the company so that they can learn more?
Yeah, no problem. The best way is through our website, digitaldealershipsystem.com. Real simple. I do have my own LinkedIn. under Todd Katcher. And, we're not really big into the socials outside of LinkedIn. We think that's the best place to have corporate communications. And our website, we do update on a regular basis. So anything new that comes out is there. And then we're happy to schedule demos, learn about what people are doing in the industry, and see how we could help them with the customer and staffing experience.
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much,
Oh,
dude.
it's a pleasure,
This
man.
has been an absolute blast. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.